Service to purpose. The mission is you. Day 35. I'm Brooks Holland. Got my boy Flops here. We got a full house. We got Buddy, who's visiting as well. And my gift is pulling the greatness that's buried inside of you that your ego is keeping you safe from realizing. And the reason I know that is because I did the same thing for 25 years of my life. So I know all the self-sabotage, all the things that you will do to not realize your own greatness. And that's how I'm here to help. And got up basically this morning at 5 a.m. East Coast time, which was 2 o'clock in the morning West Coast time. It's rolling in on 10 p.m. I was in here getting my workout in. And earlier I was kind of thinking about what I was going to do a video on, and then I got a phone call. I got a phone call from a buddy of mine who is actually a, extremely successful coach. Guy helps a lot of people, does very well financially. And, this happens to everybody, every coach. It's happened to me, but he had, stuff coming up. And really that's what I want to speak into today is he knew enough not to let it sit there and just get into that battle with the voice in his head. So he reached out to me for support, and we had an awesome conversation for about 40 minutes where, as opposed to letting whatever it is, sit and stew and just eat you up on the inside and spiral into, from the hours turn into days to weeks to months, and let stuff, because he's such a good coach, he has enough awareness that hey, I need to reach out for help. I need to have somebody else. I can't just think my way through this, because usually what that involves is the ego coming in and, keeping us safe, but usually making things worse for us in the short term. And to make a long story short, we had a great conversation, but he had some deep stuff that happened to him as a kid. And he's got a book and some stuff coming out, which is going to be really powerful. But long story short, and again, everything I'm sharing with you, he completely okayed me sharing. But, long story short, in his past, he was sexually abused. And, it's taken about 20 years to finally get to a place to where, really ready to, I wouldn't say deal with it, but really to be at peace with it. Because you look at something like that, and what do? You want to hate the person. You want to hate the perpetrator. And I touched on this on an earlier video, but this is just perfect because it's really in alignment. And I touched on the fact that, I hadn't been home to see my parents, it's more specifically my dad, for almost 18 years. And it took a while until I was actually truly ready to forgive him. That's one of those big pieces going back to that cleanup stage. There's always somebody that, we're, blamed to, or somebody that, we were a victim. And the way to get free from that is through forgiveness. And it's one of those things, that's why it's always good to have somebody that you can reach out to speak with, because logically he knows, because he's such a great coach, logically he knows that forgiveness is the path, but the ego isn't going to let you just walk in and forgive that easily. And so it was really cool to have this conversation and really just helping to walk him down the path to where then, again, he's making all the decisions, but then it ends back to the thing. It's all right, yes. So he gets to, after 20 years, actually forgive the person that, had sexually assaulted him. And the thing is, when you forgive somebody, that's for you. It's not for them. The forgiveness does not condone anything that this person did. Doesn't matter what it is. When you forgive, you're not condoning any of the actions. You're not saying it's okay, but what is it's for you? Because when you forgive, and I'm not talking about I said I'm sorry or I forgive you, you have to actually mean it. And that's the thing. That usually takes time. Because I know with my dad, I'd made phone calls, I'd written letters, I've forgiven him. Why is this stuff changing? Because it doesn't work like that, because it wasn't really, I wasn't truly ready from like my soul, from my heart, from the pit of my stomach to like really like, I'm ready to let this go. And really that's just what was coming up for my buddy is, coming up on that point of really being ready after 20 years since this originally occurred to forgive and to be free of it. Because when we keep blaming, there's sometimes like, I could never forgive that person. Well, unfortunately, they're still going to have power over you because every day that you don't forgive, you're choosing to swallow that bitter cocktail of anger and resentment. And you'll keep doing it until you really decide that you're ready to set yourself free. And that is with forgiveness. So those are really the two keys here for today 35. This falls right in line with what we're talking about. You got that cleanup stage, and then it's getting the clarity stage. And I would say, and like I said, it's not like once you finish cleanup, you never go back there. It's like, well, I took a shower yesterday. Like, I don't need to take one again. No, you take a shower every day. But like, so here's somebody that's done a lot of work on themselves. They've cleaned up a lot of stuff before. They've got clarity on their vision. They've been taking the consistent action, but it's like all of a sudden there's another level. Like, it's like peeling that onion. There's a whole nother level that's coming up. And it's like, oh goodness. But what he had enough awareness to do is, as opposed to just try to fight within his head, to reach out for help. So he called me and I picked up and we had a great talk for about 40 minutes. And having those people in your life is huge. Having those people that you feel safe to call, that you can share what's going on, and they will help you through it. And I'm just blessed to have him in my life because he's been there for me. There's been times when that call has gone the other way, and he's been there for me to listen. And honestly, a lot of that was right before I started doing these videos. Because that was one of the big things, coming up for me. So having that support network to reach out, and then just in this particular situation, it was just another great example of, again, I always say it, it's simple, but it's not easy. True forgiveness. Again, does not condone whatever the person did, doesn't, what they did. It's just so you can set yourself free. It's so you can stop. I call them 1,000-pound invisible anchors. So you can stop dragging that 1,000-pound invisible anchor. So you can stop dragging the unworthiness, whatever story, whatever the emotions. So you can stop clinging to that. The triggers, everything is going to go away. Because really, that's what happened to my buddy. Something came up, and it basically went back and triggered, some events that happened back that dealt with that. And so it's like, and now it's just, and it's like he logically knows, but now it's like when you get to that place where you're at peace and you're truly ready to forgive. And I can't emphasize how huge that is. It took me, a long time to do that with my dad. And there was no, abuse. That was really just me in my own, being a victim story for a really long time. So it's been a long day. It ended on an awesome note. I love taking those calls. I love being there for, my friends, the people that I work with as well. But yeah, that just, nothing makes me happier to have people like that in my life, because that love, that connection, like those are the things that, you can't buy. So that's day 35 in the books, keeping it consistent, doing this for you. Again, it's the whole thing here, because I don't want you to waste 20, 25 years, depending on what it was, like I did. So the mission is you to stop serving the identity, start serving your purpose, start living into your greatness, start having an impact, start living life from a full cup. So there you have it. I'm Brooks Holland. Flops took off over there. We got Buddy. And I'll see you tomorrow for day 36. Have a good one. these one takes, no editing. You're going to get it all. You're going to get the mistakes, and you're going to get when I nail it. So there you have it. So I want you to take imperfect action as well, and don't worry about those little things. Have a good one.